Bosses are what makes most games unique and memorable for the most part, right? And the God of War series has its fair share of really, really good and really, really bad bosses. The most recent title in the series was kind of hit or miss for me. Yeah, I absolutely loved fighting Baldur all those times, and the Magni and Modi fights were all well done with that little guarding mechanic in the dark throughout the battle. And you can't forget the mountain dragon whose name I will not even attempt to pronounce. Contrary to these, we were graced by the presence of too many trolls and giant rock men, along with the Valkyries. Yeah, while it felt rewarding to learn all of their movesets after dying several times, only to have the last Valkyrie be a combination of every one of those movesets and demolish us, those fights were just way too samey to me. Overall, this game lacked a variety of bosses, good or bad, in general. And I hope that when the sequel comes out, this will be fixed. Which I'm sure is very likely, considering one of the main gripes that people have about this game is with the bosses. And speaking of the sequel and bosses, I'm really hyped and the game hasn't even been revealed yet. And I'm very hopeful for a select few figures to make an appearance as boss fights. This list is in no particular order, and Thor will be exempt considering he's pretty much guaranteed to be a boss in the next game. So let's get started with 3 bosses that should be in the next God of War. With the death of her son Baldur at the hands of Kratos, Freya vowed to kill Kratos and parade his body. And the last we heard of her was when Mimir told us that she was seeking her Valkyrie wings. Obviously, this was so she could be able to stand a chance in taking revenge on Kratos. I feel like her boss fight will consist of the typical Valkyrie combat that we're used to, but throw in a magical twist. Freya's a sorceress, so who knows what tricks she can pull. I'm thinking she can make the fight a more cinematic one, and use her magic to cause Kratos to have hallucinations of different things from his past and whatnot, all while making us dodge her flurry of attacks. This may look crazy, but the God of War games are no stranger to having legendary human figures as bosses. Look at God of War 2, where we fought Perseus and Theseus. Erik the Red can be made to fit within the game, so don't crucify me. I mean, instead of being killed by Kratos, Theseus was originally thrown off of a cliff in Athens, and Perseus was killed by someone avenging their father while Perseus was the king of Mycenae. I know Erik was banished from Norway for having a murder problem, and he had a very fierce temper, but let's say that in God of War he hasn't been banished yet. Not sure under what circumstances would lead you to him, but let's say we're just rowing our boat with Boy and Head and come across this ship and he gets pissed off because of something smart that Boy says. I don't know. I know that if he's in the game, we'll fight him over something more serious. His fight will probably play out similar to the way the fight with Theseus did, with him just being a roadblock and carrying a certain item that we need to progress. It'll be a more man-to-man test of wits and strength than a clash of gods, and can be allowed for some really nice opportunities to test us on how well we know the game's combat mechanics. We know that Surt sits with his fellow fire giants in Muspelheim, waiting for Ragnarok to begin so that he can face his destiny of destroying Asgard and dying a selfless being. And one can assume that the next game begins at the start of Ragnarok. So, suppose we're making our way to Tyr's temple, only to be nearly stepped on by a large foot, and then promptly attacked by the source of the foot, a fire giant. I mean, it's safe to say that since we completed Surt's trials, the fire giants know how powerful and formidable in battle Kratos is, but they also don't really know who we are and who we side with. They could possibly believe that we're just scouts for the Aesir, or among those siding with their enemy Odin during Ragnarok. Which will lead to one of the amazing large-scale boss fights that God of War is known for, such as the fight with Poseidon or the fight with the Colossus of Rhodes in Kronos. Who would you like to see as a boss in the next God of War? Be sure to leave a comment, we'll talk about it. You can also suggest other topics for lists, or a theory you may have come up with, or something to do with the lore of the series. As always, thanks for watching.